All right, folks, welcome back to NewsOne Now. So what, a few moments ago, Liz just said, so what, Trump is now, what'd you just say?
Trump is now calling for a major investigation into the voter fraud. So he needs to put, he's going to put his resources behind his paranoia.
And you know, Bush looked for 5 years for voter fraud, found nothing, could not bring one case here in terms of prosecution.
It's about that Supreme Court pick. I'm telling you, man, they setting this up so they can go punish voters. Jeff Sessions going to be in on it. I mean, this is what they're doing.
It's about taking the eye off of the ball.
You know what Roland is about to say. Go ahead, blast him again, brother.
No.
I'll keep trying to explain to y'all, okay? The man is lying. He's lying. His ego cannot handle the fact that he didn't get all the doggone votes, and so he wants to keep playing the game. I keep telling y'all, game, recognize game. and so what we have to do is keep calling a lie, a lie, a lie, a lie. Yes, Spencer said it earlier. Republican Law Association, where they tried to find all kind of stuff, couldn't find it. They haven't found cases. You know, they can't find it. So this is very simple. I'm not going to sit here and play the game as the other media and entertain nonsense. It's a fundamental lie. And Donald Trump, if you want to have this conversation, we are more than happy to have the conversation. I can't wait for you to invite Christian Clark of the Lawyers Committee to the White House. I can't wait for you to invite Cheryl and Eiffel of the Legal Defense Fund to the White House. I can't wait for you to invite Barbara Arnwine to the White House. I can't wait for you to actually invite the Brennan Center. If you really, really, really want to have this conversation, please, because we will continue to expose the shameful voter suppression tactics that are taking place led by Republicans all across this country, including what happened in North Carolina. And I can't wait to hear you call them out, North Carolina, Donald Trump. I just can't wait for that to happen, because we know it's not going to happen. But on this show, we're going to keep checking you all day, every day, for the next 4 years, every time you lie. And let's deal with this other story. He signed an executive order with a federal hiring freeze, as well as pay across the government, except for the military. But that screws veterans group. One veterans group says Trump's executive order will hurt hundreds of thousands of veterans already working in civilian government jobs and cripple the Department of Veteran Affairs. In a statement, the veterans group votevets.org said, quote, "It would be the ultimate insult to our men and women who'd serve to deny them the additional doctors, nurses, therapists, and administrators that are sorely needed at the VA. If his executive order leads to preventable deaths, that will be on Donald Trump's hands, and we will hold him personally accountable." Joining us right now, retired U.S. Army General John Hawkins III, the President and CEO of Hawkins Solutions International. Now, John, President Obama actually signed an executive order expanding opportunities, job opportunities for veterans. Vote Vet says this is actually going to eradicate that.
The most important thing that I think, and first of all, thank you for having me on your show and calling me John as opposed to Hawk on the golf course. Sir, and people, the most important part of all of this for those of us that served, as in my case, 37 years, 10 months, and 9 days, is that we need to have truth from the top. We need to have believable statements that make it clear where we're going and what we're going to do and what happened, and if necessary, apologies for misstatements. We need to have truth.
Vote Vet says the federal workforce is 31% veteran. That means 623,000 veterans depend on federal jobs and pay.
That's clear. And there's something called the SDV or SDV OSB, Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Small Business Program. And there is a veteran-owned small business program, and all of us are looking forward to that. If there are things shut down with respect to the hiring of GS employees, then clearly there will be a shutdown, at least for the immediacy, in small business.
Liz, VoteVet says this here. 2009 executive order by President Obama established the Veterans Employment Initiative. That order instructed agencies to identify and hire qualified veterans for job openings. They say, quote, Trump's hiring freeze means no jobs are now open for veterans at affected agencies, and because it also didn't stipulate that the Department of Veteran Affairs was exempted. And so here you have somebody who always talks about, oh, I love the veterans,
right,
who puts in a freeze, not even thinking about the broader implications, which is also part of the problem here. He's taking actions just willy-nilly, not thinking about all the consequences.
Right. It's concerning, especially for conservatives who always say that freedom isn't free. And we need to support our veterans. We always say that. If the president and his administration actually had a good handle on administration, on governing, they would have put an exemption for not just the jobs there, but the services that our veterans require, not just the workforce development, the job training, but our veteran population is a growing population in homelessness. And so these are some things that are very real that we need to keep our eye on, and we need to provide those services.
I don't think this is necessarily part of what Thomas Friedman in the New York Times this morning called the chaos presidency. I think this might be deliberate. I mean, look at
it's very much deliberate.
No question. Look at the gag order, which means, well, what I'm saying, you got to look at Paul Ryan and them. Look at the gag order that they have basically imposed on all the federal agencies. These veterans, and you're not talking about in the military division, we're talking about veterans who are working across the board. But what happens, for example, in Social Security? Not only to the veterans who may be working in that branch, but to the people who won't get their checks on time now because they need these.
Right,
I mean, this may be part of the Republican starve the government.
I respectfully disagree. I think that this is not a malicious intent. This is inexperience. This is bad governance. But this is what you get when you get a rogue candidate, a maverick, someone who is not polished on these policy issues or has experience in government.
Now, John, look, I mean, you served 32 years in the U.S. Army dealing with HR issues. Go ahead and respond.
Well, let me just say this part. We advertise the fact that you can go from military helmets to corporate helmets. In other words, you can go from engineering in the military to engineering in the civilian sector. Mm-hmm. Okay, and if we are not going to be able to make sure that you can go from military service into civilian service, then what are we talking about?
I agree.
I mean, this is not a good place to be.
This also disproportionately impacts black folks. Black folks are 17 to 18% of the federal workforce. It's not just D.C., these are folks all over the country.
And that's because also we've been frozen out of corporate America for so long. And so what this also does, this impacts the black middle class. Yes. And so folks have to understand this hiring freeze, and not just the hiring freeze, what's going to follow.
That's right.
You're going to see a massive slashing of federal jobs. Yes, which will have a much larger impact on black folks than anybody else.
Absolutely. A great amount of the African-American workforce that goes into the Lockheed Martins, et cetera, come from defense. Mm-hmm. And so if there's a freeze on the civilian hiring force, that immediately takes out the corporate piece.
Well, Major General, what does Mad Dog Mathis say to Trump? Since he's supposed to rely on him so much, what is he going to say to him?
Well, I served with...
oh, wow.
I served with Brother Mattis.
Mad Dog.
As a one-star, and both of us were one-stars in Afghanistan and in Pakistan together. Huh. And he is a very smart individual. He's also an individual that will speak his mind. He will make it clear how he feels about things. When those things get to a point where he cannot fully be in keeping with the spirit and language of the president, there may be a change.
Well, we saw that during hearings.
Well, he's already signed this executive order. Mm-hmm. I wish Mad Dog Mathis hurry the hell up.
I know that's right.
Because Americans can't wait.
Yes, sir.
Kickstart your day at 7 and get the news you need from the perspective you want. NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Every weekday morning at 7 on TV 1.